Today on the ASCENSION podcast, we are diving into escaping the endless cycle of hustle and discontent and shifting our focus into what makes a strategy successful. Okay, we're going to be talking about how breaking free from this cycle of relentless hustling, needing to make it happen, striving for that next goal has really created a cycle of doing with no real fulfilling results. And it leaves us, for the most part, feeling pretty empty inside. Either we're not feeling fulfilled by the success that we've created, or we're just feeling like, is this really it? Is this what I'm meant to be feeling? I'm not feeling what I thought I would feel when I've created that success, or I'm just not even getting there in the first place. And the whole process of all of it is feeling really frustrated. Hence, we are stuck in this cycle of hustle and needing to create. So today we're going to be diving into what that actually means, how to shift out of it, and how really embracing your cyclical nature allows you to step into alignment with how you're meant to be working so that you can start activating and magnetizing your biggest mother effing success and start living in your freedom frequency life. Let's go. All right, Sacred Success Seeker, I have something that will take your success to the next level. Introducing Cyclical Ascension, the 2-day event to unlock the codes to elevate your energy, create your cyclical success strategy, and magnetize sacred success like it's your goddamn day job. Inside Cyclical Ascension, we will be unlocking your personal code for living in cyclical harmony so that you can more easily move through the ebbs and flows of work and business and continuously experience more clarity, productivity, and energy on a daily basis. We'll be getting over your fear of surrendering or being in your quote-unquote feminine at work and step into your cyclical queen era where you'll go from, oh my God, I don't know how I'm gonna manage it all, to holy shit, there is so much open space in my calendar. You'll be learning how to infuse your cyclical success strategy into your business, job, or current goal for a productivity glow up and attract dreamier results with more ease, where you're living in your freedom frequency life. Cyclical Ascension is the place to set up not only a life that's aligned with your cyclical nature, but a workflow and foundation for your business, career, and personal goals that will allow you to ascend into success that is sacred. Cyclical Ascension is happening live on August 15th and 16th and available on demand for future listeners. So get ready and get inside. Welcome back, my loves, to another episode of the Essence Show and podcast. If you're new here, welcome. I am your host, Olivia Heine, your NLP and Sacred Success coach, Flow CEO, and fellow goal getter. I'm also here to be your kind of like hype woman, freedom lifestyle curator. Like, we are going into not just redefining success and how you work in order to be more productive, have more time, have more energy, but to actually use that to create a life that is freedom AF, freedom as fuck, and really embodying this frequency of this expansive feeling and this pleasure and this free feeling of like everything is possible for me. I'm enjoying my life. Look at all the success that I've created and look at how easily I just like flowed here, right? That is what we are here to create. And really what this podcast is about for anyone new listening is to deconstruct how we've been taught to work and show up in order to create what we've framed as success. And I deeply believe that we have a pretty warped view of what success is, the values that surround what success is for us, and how we push ourselves and sacrifice our well-being in order to create this warped version of success. And what we talk about here on the Essence podcast is really that your innermost essence is the key to revolutionizing your success, because success at the end of the day is an inside job. And when you tap into your inner essence, which we talk about in so many different ways in this space, it's the work that I do with my clients and within my courses. But when we tap into that, that's when you start creating what I call sacred success. And that's when you start embodying and magnetizing and living in your frequency freedom life. Okay, so today we're going to dive into one really big block to all of that, right? One of the biggest ways that we keep ourselves from sacred success, that we keep ourselves from this freedom frequency life, is by being in this cycle of hustle and discontent. And it's actually this false belief of the strategy that we think we need to be successful that is actually preventing us from being in success and creating sacred success, and also having a strategy that is actually successful. So we're also going to talk about what actually makes a strategy successful, okay? So let's talk about this cycle of hustle and discontent, because this is the real pain moment, right? Like, this is like we are dishing the goss, the tea over like a girl's brunch, and you're just like, this is what's going on, right? Like, this is how I'm feeling right now. And I don't know what I'm going to do about it, because like it just kind of feels like this endless loop that I'm living in, right? So there's a feeling when we're in the cycle of hustle and wanting to create and wanting to really, push ourselves into this massive success that we know we are here to create. And I know, like, I want to just add a side note here. Like, you're not just like striving and pushing because you think that that's inherently fun, right? By the way, if you hear my my laundry machine in the background, I'm hearing it very loudly right now. So I'm really hoping it's not picking up on this, but apologies for that. Bear with me. We're living life here. But when we're going through this process of creating success, like, I know that you have big goals and you have big dreams, and that's why you want to create this success. Like, you're not just doing it out here willy-nilly. Like, you have a calling, a deeper purpose, a desire to create something, but there's just like the process that you've been taught of how you need to work to create that is not feeling in alignment. And so there's kind of this feeling of emptiness. So maybe you've gone down a path in your life where the success that you've created or that you're currently working towards, like, it looks really good on paper, but it doesn't really feel good, right? So either you've actually hit those goals and those milestones, and now you're like, well, like, I have the partner, or I have the family, or I have the job, or I have the business, but I'm still feeling X, right? I'm still feeling emptiness. I'm still feeling unfulfilled. I'm still feeling kind of unsatisfied. I'm feeling kind of frustrated. I'm feeling like, is this the right thing? I'm feeling like, have I wasted so much time going down this path? And like, now it's not the right thing. And this feeling of emptiness is really important to recognize. So if you're feeling that, I honor you and I see you, and I really commend you so highly for just recognizing it and acknowledging that, because this is that sign of like, okay, I'm in this cycle. I'm stuck, literally like my washing machine. I'm stuck in this cycle of just being in it and being kind of thrown around in this hustle and bustle of life, right? And of course, this ends up creating this feeling of discontentment. Like, you have that quote unquote success that society has praised you for, or that you've been taught to strive for. And now it still feels like there's something missing. And I love to call this surface level success, right? It's like getting into a relationship and being like, okay, maybe we just need some time to connect deeper, or to like get to know each other better. And then we'll have like the great deep conversations and like really have that deep level connection and intimacy. And then you like get to the point where you think that should happen. And you're like, okay, there's nothing here. Like, we had fun at the beginning, or like, I thought that this person seemed perfect because of how they looked, or the job that they had, or like the one thing that they said that one time, but now it's not. And it's similar when it comes to the success and that discontentment that we feel, because we've so deeply been conditioned to go down one path and what the criteria are that we need to hit in order to be successful and feel successful. And so of course, when we get there and we're like, ooh, doesn't feel the way I thought it was going to feel, there's that feeling of like discontentment. And a lot of times what I see as well is we turn that discontentment back on ourselves. We're like, well, what did I do wrong? What is wrong with me here? Maybe if this is the dream job that I assumed I wanted, or that I was told that I wanted, like, there must be something wrong with me if I can't appreciate that right now. And especially like with partners and family situations, like when you have the kids, or you have the partner, you have the marriage, or you have the house, and you're like, I should be so grateful, right? And then we start to feel bad about the fact that we don't feel grateful enough for the things that we have. So that as well, like, if you're feeling that, give yourself some grace, my love, because that is so normal. And again, the more that you kind of like push away the discontentment, the more it's going to persist. Okay. And then of course, like when we talk about this cycle of hustle and like this relentless need to create or do or be in this rat race, we have a like energetic experience of that, right? So like we're feeling low on energy, you feel drained, you feel exhausted, you dread waking up in the morning, you're feeling like, oh my God, like I don't want to have to start another week right now. Can I just have like 3 more days of weekend? Or like maybe like never go back to work. How about that? Or maybe it's not even work. Maybe it's your life. Like you're just feeling low on energy. And so you're no longer working out. You're no longer doing your routines. You don't feel energized to get up in the morning and journal or meditate or do the things that you know you need to do to actually feel better in the first place, right? And of course, like this lack of energy is perpetuating this feeling of emptiness. Like we don't have the energy, or you don't have the energy to actually go out and enjoy your life, right? Because you're like, I'm capped, girl. I'm at capacity. And of course, this leads to time scarcity as well, right? If we don't feel like we have enough energy, or we don't feel like we have enough time, they kind of go hand in hand. It's like a chicken or the egg situation. Like what came first, what comes first? Because we never feel like we have enough time. We feel like we're always running behind. We feel like there's always something that's like being left out, or that we're missing, or we always have something to do. And you're probably doing something right now as you're listening to this podcast. And so this feeling of like never enough just starts to bleed into every area of life. So we go from never enough time, never enough energy, never enough success, never enough fulfillment, never enough praise, never enough enoughness, right? And that feels like shit, right? That is what creates this emptiness. That's what creates this cycle of like always striving and always feeling like we're falling short, because this never enoughness feeling continues to be at the core of this cycle, right? So like it's like the eye of the tornado, the eye of the storm, the eye of my goddamn loud washing machine right now. If you're hearing it, I'm so sorry. But that is what it boils down to. And what this lack of fulfillment really ends up leading to is like being stuck in this cycle even longer, right? This feeling of lack, like I'm lacking time, I'm lacking money, I'm lacking energy, I'm lacking freedom, I'm lacking the success that I want, I'm lacking the results, I'm lacking the clients, I'm lacking the job status or the income or whatever. And this is keeping you in this perpetual, endless, relentless hustle cycle. And if you don't resonate with the word hustle, replace it with the word energy. Like I'm at a lack of energy, an energy deficiency. Like I'm in this lack of energy cycle. You can also replace it with force, a forcing cycle. Like I'm just trying. And I'm just feeling like I keep falling short. Like if we're trying to do something, we're not actually doing the thing, right? Like I'm going to try to pick up a pencil. I'm trying, like nothing happens. I just have to go pick it up, right? And so this feeling of trying is really also this feeling of like, I'm forcing, I'm trying to make it happen. I'm struggling with it. Do you feel that energy? I just want to check in and make sure that that makes sense. So what we end up doing when we're in this hustle mode, when we're in this discontent and this discomfort, is like, we are in survival mode, right? If we're trying to get somewhere, it's because we don't feel like where we are is good enough. We don't feel like where we are is safe enough. We don't feel like there's enough success, enough security. And security means money. Security means home environment. Security means connections and relationships. And so we try so hard to force things into being instead of flowing into our success. So when we're forcing, we create a shit ton of resistance. And this resistance, again, keeps us in this state of hustle, this relentless cycle. Like as long as you keep forcing, again, think of my washing machine. This is like the perfect analogy. And I was annoyed with it at the beginning and now it's perfect. But like, as long as it like keeps this momentum going of like force, like you're going to keep spinning in that cycle, right? And this is creating a massive amount of resistance because we're actually constricting flow from happening when we're in force. And the forcing is actually your unseen barrier to your success. Flow is like the key that unlocks the magical gates that lets you out into this beautiful, expansive world of limitless possibilities and success. And the forcing is literally like the 1,000 guards standing at the gate, creating this big, massive wall that's like, honey, no, this is not where we're going. Like you have to stay here. You have to keep struggling and hustling and forcing things. And this is really what's holding you back from your true potential. Okay. And it's really interesting because where I see this happening the most is within something that is called Eldest Child Syndrome. And this is to all my oldest babies out there, my oldest sisters, because I am one of you. And it's really interesting because a lot of my clients tend to be oldest children or of multiple kids, like 2 or 3 or 4. And what comes with this position in the family a lot of the times, especially when you've experienced some sort of trauma on any kind of level within your family, and that can be like discontent within the home environment, that can be separation or divorce, that can be a loss of a family member or grief in some way. It can also just be like I said before, some kind of dynamic in the household. So like an instability in one of the parental units or both of them that makes you feel and teaches you that you need to step up and be the leader in some way, shape, or form. And maybe it's not of the household, maybe it's of your younger siblings, but there's fixer energy here. And what this creates then is this feeling of like, I need to control, I need to keep the peace, I need to protect the people around me or make sure that everything stays in the most amount of harmony that I possibly can, because that makes me feel safe. And so it really creates this controlling energy, which of course, when we're controlling, we're forcing and we're constricting. And again, like if we have this like big wall analogy, like no water is able to flow out of this like dam wall that we've placed in the middle of our potential success. And if we have all of those guards there who are building this big wall, like we are constricting it by trying to control it. Does that make sense? And what we really want to do is release these very strict structures and barriers in order to create flow again. So going back to like this endless cycle of hustle and discontent, like what the solution to that is, how we escape that is by starting to practice tapping into flow and creating a framework that is easeful enough or that is like loose enough that makes us still feel like, okay, there's structure here. I feel safe in structure, because that's a very normal thing, especially when you're very used to like needing to control everything when you come from that eldest child position, for example, but where you still have enough space to flow. And I love the analogy of like a river. In order for the river to flow, we need the riverbank, but we also don't want to make it so constrictive that it becomes a dam. Like we need some structure, but we also want to flow within it. Does that make sense? So how do we shift? How do we start talking about a strategy that actually is successful, that allows you to flow? And let's focus in on what makes a strategy successful. And I have a few really important points here. The first thing is a human-focused strategy. It's got to be holistic, and it puts you as a person, as a human being at the forefront and in the center. This also then includes a body-first approach, means that we are taking your physical, mental, and emotional well-being into account into how you are creating the strategy for success. Third, you are working with your body. So the body comes first, and then we are also working with the body by working in connection and in alignment with the natural ebbs and flows of your cyclical nature instead of against it. So many of the strategies out there, basically all of them, that the dominant narrative or societal conditioning teaches us work against your body, work against you as a human being. Like you come second, but the strategy and the success comes first. And also don't acknowledge or honor your cyclical nature, which is what allows you to move through the ebbs and flows and the ups and downs of actually creating success, right? It's not a straight linear path. Also, what we want to keep in mind and what makes a strategy successful is supporting your immune system, supporting your mental health, supporting your physical health. So actually having the focus, again, this kind of goes into body first, but the focus on all of the things that you want to be doing to tend to yourself outside of just getting the task done, because that is what ups productivity. That is what ups creativity. That's what ups clarity and what you want to be doing. That's what gives you that feeling of feeling good about where you're at and about how you're being and about yourself, and starts to also up that enoughness feeling that we talked about earlier. So how do we do this? The way that I love teaching this, and this is the core foundation to the work that we do at O-Flow and also in pretty much every single course and every single like one-on-one mentorship offer that I also have, is with your cyclical nature. Your cyclical nature is that inner essence of who you are, and it actually has like a framework set up for you already, nothing that you need to go and like create from scratch or like have to build up this big new thing. No, you have this guideline within you that teaches you how to be in flow, that teaches you how to create in order to be successful, that's in alignment with all these things, that is in alignment with a successful strategy based on the criteria that we just talked about. It also allows you to let go and flow. So like I said before, this analogy of the riverbank, like gives you a strategy that's a framework, like this guideline of a riverbank, but it allows you to flow within it. It doesn't constrict you. It doesn't say, you have to go through this one entrance in the dam if you want to get through here. And it's like, no, that is so constricting. That feels so heavy. That feels so hard. That's such a struggle. Like, we want to be following the path of least resistance here. And that doesn't mean that the flow is always going to be easy, but it means it gets to be easeful. We don't need to be carrying a backpack of rocks up a mountain. We just want to be hiking up this mountain to get to the result that we're creating for ourselves, right? And when you start to flow, when you start to make your shift in your strategy towards what makes a strategy successful. So putting your body first, following your natural cycles, honoring yourself as a human being in the process, that is when you create, like I said, more pleasure, more productivity, more creativity, more ease, more freedom, more clarity in what you're creating, more pleasure in your daily life. And it also ripples out into every area of your life. So when you're feeling that sense of like discontent or lack of fulfillment, we want to kind of come back to the source. And the source is, how are you showing up every day to work, right? Like, what are we feeding this river of flow? And it's like, if we're feeding it like, you need to do more, you're not doing enough, you need to work harder, we don't have enough energy, we don't have enough time, you created this result, but like, whatever, it doesn't really feel good, just do the next thing, maybe that will feel good. Like, that is what we're feeding it at the source. And that is never going to create flow. So we want to go back to that source and be like, okay, obviously there's like some mindset shifts here, but at the end of the day, it's like about the repeatable process of how you're showing up on a daily basis. And that's what ends up shifting things in the long run. That's what ends up keeping you in flow in a very sustainable and like longevity way in terms of creating success. And again, it rippling out into all areas of your life, where if we're feeling this fulfillment of like, yeah, like I feel really good about my life on a day-to-day basis. It's not all about just checking things off the list. I'm making time for pleasure. I'm making time for what's important to me, my values. A lot of the time, that's not even included in how we're working. And that's when we start to feel the sense of enoughness within ourselves, within our life on a day-to-day basis. And that enoughness starts to reflect back to us and ripple out as well into those other areas of your life where you may be feeling a little bit of that emptiness or a little bit of that discontentment. But it really starts with yourself, and it starts with how you're showing up. And that is why I'm so fucking passionate about talking about your cyclical and sacred strategy for success, because that is our purpose here. Like, we spend most of our life working. We want to make sure that we're doing it in a way that feels really good and that serves us and that serves your higher purpose here as well. So that is what makes a strategy successful. I would love to hear your thoughts on this. I would love to hear what's been coming up for you. Like I said at the beginning, can we pretend that we're like dishing some tea at like a girl's brunch on a Sunday morning? I would love that. I would love to hear where you're at, and really just to think as well about like, what is this costing you, right? Like, what is being in this feeling of discontent costing you? Because again, so many of the clients who I work with, they come through and they are really successful. They've created a lot of beautiful things in their life, but there's still this feeling of disconnect between them. So that's what I want to really leave you with today. If you want to dive deeper into this work, you can join me for the Cyclical Ascension workshop. This is a 2-day event to really ascend into your goals through your cyclical nature. So we're setting up your framework for your cyclical success strategy. So a literal successful strategy to map out how you're going to be reaching the goals, whether that's in your business, whether that's in your career, or whether that's a life goal of something that you want to create in order to have more time, have more energy, have more pleasure, and have more freedom. So I invite you to join me there. The links and all the descriptions for that are in, or the links are in the description below. So grab your ticket and leave your comments, leave a rating, leave a review, leave a like, subscribe, follow, and I'll see you back here for the next week's episode.